hotel is located south of San Francisco. The airport of San Mateo is 10 minutes away. Women figuring, busy American girls. They are working out plans. They clean and swim, but their minds center on just one thing: polishing the plane. That's important. It means higher speed. The Association of Women Pilots in the United States of America beckoned, and many came for the race right across the continent. The attractions of San Francisco go unheeded. There just isn't time for that sort of thing. Few girls have come alone. The twin look is popular, with the pilot and co-pilot wearing the same clothes. Sponsors have also been found for the flight, such as dairies or the world-famous German Mercedes-Benz company. After all, this year is the first time there's a German team taking part. Old and young, many with 20,000 hours flying experience to their credit, have come to take the plunge into adventure. And adventure is the right word, for an air race over an entire continent, even today, is an adventure, no matter whether in a single-engine or twin-engine plane. Every enthusiastic American lady pilot tries to take part in this Powder Puff Derby. Powder Puff Derby, that's its official name, takes place once a year. This year the takeoff point is San Francisco, the start of the all-woman Transcontinental air race from the West Coast to the East Coast, to New Jersey. A drive over the Golden Gate Bridge is a mere stroll in comparison to this race. 2 days before the start of the race, every plane must be inspected and sealed. The pilots are allowed to clean the outside, but the cockpit is locked.
I could average 205 on this bridge.
That's Jeannie Richardson. She's last year's winner.
Don't you think that it looks pretty, my left job?
Brand new.
Oh, it is. Well, it had 2 months. It has over 100 hours on it. It has 100 about 18 hours. It's just broken in.
She loves that plane. The identification, too.
November 4th, Jenny Richardson. My birthday and my initials.
But there's more to dress up than just a plane. They got to get ready for the takeoff banquet, which is accompanied by the lively singing of the Marines. Their song, those magnificent girls in their flying machines. Ingrid Heinz from South Africa in Mink with her co-pilot. And that's Jeannie, 20,000 flying hours, professional pilot, also for helicopters, and flying instructor. And there's the twin look again, smiling as if they'd already won. Takeoff day is July 7th, with all military honors. Well, part of the honors is missing, has had second thoughts, takes to its heels. Who cares a damn what happens to the head of the procession? An unexpected bonus for the spectators, but then, after all, everything is just as it should be at military events.
Fearless Pierce, Strong Griffith, want you at the stand.
The Powder Puff ladies missed the incident. They have other things to worry about. Too much luggage, too much weight. For Jeannie, this moment means checking whether her carefully worked out notes are handy and in the right order. For Angela Masson, it means, will hot pants make the plane fly faster? Daddy has bought her a new plane for the race, a Belanca, like Jeannie's. And it's with a Belanca that Jeannie wants to win the coveted $10,000 prize again. But then everybody else wants to win too. Ready now. Starting flag. And off they go. Every one of them who pulls the stick at the end of the runway wants to make it. 2,614 miles to the Atlantic and past the finishing line. One plane every 20 seconds. 2,614 miles to the East Coast. Looking at it in European terms, it's about the same as a flight from Berlin to the equator. 97 planes take off. 106 had registered, but 9 of them didn't turn up. Didn't pass inspection, funds ran out, or they lost their nerves, to mention only a few reasons.
The 1971 winner, Jeannie Richardson, last year's flying her second air race with 488 hours flying time.
And there, number 41 comes back. Something went wrong. Bad luck.
And all the time that she's been flying is counting against her. Tar 41. We were hoping we wouldn't have anyone return to the field.
Airspeed and flying speed indicators went on the blink. I'd have gone on. That's what I said, and I meant it too. A landing by ear is by no means easy, and I'd have preferred to practice it at the next airport rather than here. After all, everyone has to come down, either here or at the next control point. At the end of the field, it's our takeoff, 20 seconds after the last plane. I'm the only male pilot on the course, but obviously out of the running. The landing gear lever is stuck, but never mind, we'll get that straightened out before the next landing. Yes, we. I have a chaperone, Del Hin. She's flown this race a number of times as a competitor, but this year she is a member of the committee and has been delegated to fly with me. The camera plane, that's us. She is enjoying herself, as we can take turns to fly, and at the same time she can keep her beady eye on me to make sure I don't give the participants tips over the radio. The Rocky Mountains. A flight in the early morning is supposed to be smooth, but this morning things really are rather rough and bumpy. The race is flown VFR, by sight, and I know what that means. A flight over an entire continent with sea, mountains, desert, and continually changing meteorological conditions, even during the first short lap. Our first stop is in Ogden on Salt Lake in Utah, as far from San Francisco as Sicily is from Munich. 11 states are to be crossed in a maximum of 4 days. 7 control points have to be touched with 2 must stops. At the other 5 points, all that is necessary is to make a flyby past the tower for a time check. Thermal currents climbing up out of the heat over the wide expanse of land shake our plane. Tracks in the dried up salt. Everybody is so far apart that it isn't until just before we get to Ogden that we see the first of the 97 contestants, Way down below us, she is coming into land. Scenes as in San Francisco, but this time they are cleaning their planes a few hundred miles further east. This is an enthusiastic member of the welcoming committee, which for 2 days helps those fast girls on their way across the continent. There's a flyby past the tower for a time check. The plane is refueled after the landing, and a little bit of publicity never did any harm.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
And what's your official position?
What her official position at the Derby is, participant, nothing more. Planes land. Some take off again immediately after refueling. The weather report for the next lap to Rock Springs sounds good. Who knows what it will be like tomorrow morning? As non-competitors in the race, we are allowed to start the next morning before sunrise. We meet the sun over the mountains. It's a tremendous joy to fly right into the morning like this. Course correction from 90 to 95 degrees. The planes in the race have to make 2 flybys for a time check before the next must stop in Moline. Over Rock Springs, one of the girls asks whether their nose wheel is out. Tower wants to check, but Dell is quicker.
I can see your nose gear and it's down where the camera planes were flying above you.
The 2 girls from Illinois have no cause to be afraid. No matter how grim the competition may be, help is always at hand in an emergency. Last year, one of the pilots gave up, in spite of her strong position, because she's heard over the radio that a beginner had got lost in bad weather. She guided her by radio to the nearest airport. Below us is the state of Wyoming, wide open farmland with round fields. Something different for a change. The weather isn't so good anymore when we land. Some of the pilots most likely expected this. A number of them can afford a private weatherman, and after each landing they rush to the telephone and ask their oracle whether they should fly on or not, whether conditions will be better in a few hours or tomorrow morning. This service can cost up to $350, depending on the quality of the man on the other end of the line. The information received is obviously not passed on. Jeannie, too, has her own weatherman. And then we have the weather Jeannie was promised. The plane below us disappears under a layer of clouds close to the ground. We have views I know only too well from Germany. The safest way of keeping your bearings is by following railroads and highways, once you've found them. In Moline, Illinois, we've covered 2/3 of the total distance. The forecast is for even worse weather. Those with a reserve of nervous energy left fly on. The pilot of this Piper is Margaret Mead from California, 8,300 flying hours. Angela Messon, 300 flying hours. Number 47, Margaret Ringenberg, Indiana, 14,000 hours. The hours these women have spent behind the control stick count more than titles or beauty. The 3rd day, the weather is even worse than yesterday, but we want to make Tom's River our final destination at the Atlantic before the day's over, because we don't want to be among the last to arrive. It's not exactly a pleasant flight through a landscape of clouds looming around us. We hardly can see the ground. We are flying with instruments. The others aren't allowed to. Careful. Clouds. And through we go. Unfortunately, you never know how thick they are. In the description of this part of the route, it says, on the way to Latrobe, between the pleasant green hills of the Allegheny Mountains, Pennsylvania, you fly over beautiful Ohio, sprawling Pittsburgh, etc. All that must be somewhere below us. Latrobe Airport.
How's your position?
It's very hard to tell until everybody else.
You didn't know it exactly.
Well, we do know, and in relation to our handicap speed, it's pretty good.
You mean it's faster then?
What?
Is it faster then?
Right. Take all the bugs off.
But you have seen the most are there. You have not to fly more for the rest.
Right.
Jackets with a name and number of TAR 16. The pilot is Audrey Schutter, 6,500 flying hours. Also a license for helicopter and balloon. Co-pilot is Joanne, a newcomer with 70 hours.
You'll have to. I'd rather afford it than have it stop.
How do things look on the third day? There's no one left at the northern point of the route in Sioux City. Some are still in Moline and Fort Wayne or here in Latrobe. But most of them have already crossed the finishing line on the coast, Toms River Airport. Lined up those who were faster than us. Our flying time in a single-engine Cessna was exactly 16 hours and 5 minutes. The winner is sure to have been much quicker. This event is a competition of speed, just plain speed. That's something we don't know in Europe. We have rallies, obstacle races, with the emphasis on obstacle. Number 3, a Cessna 182 with Mary and Mary Lowe, a mother-daughter team. Time comparison on the finishing line. Here's the next one. Only 8 more to come. An American welcome in front of the tent. Radio. Television was only here on the first day. A plastic cup with a refreshing drink for the women of influence, as the inscription on number 96 says. In former years, they used to serve champagne on this occasion, but this year it's water, much to the disappointment of the powder puff veterans. Formerly, the time that counted used to be the moment of touchdown, which resulted in breakneck landings. The fact that this is no longer the case means that there is one rule the ladies are happier about than the substitute for champagne given to them on their arrival. Kisses are freely exchanged. The American co-pilot of Ingrid Heinz from South Africa.
Eddie!
Okay, nice smiles right here.
Thank you.
And they'll make you fly through.
Oh,
Yes,
it's
with your flight
time.
plan.
It's up and down.
Good morning.
Yes.
One of the last to arrive is Jeannie, but that doesn't really mean a thing. Only the actual flying time counts as long as the finishing line is crossed within 4 days. I wonder how she made out. A blessing from the church is also part of things. A quick glance at the program and you know who is to be welcomed. Jeannie doesn't look very happy. But she's always got a smile for the cameras. Police, ambulances, and fire engines are standing by. Jeannie knows that she won't win, and she knows why. She lost the cap of a fuel tank. But for the sake of the cameras, the show mustn't be forgotten. Pauline Glasson brings 20,000 flying hours with her 20th Powder Puff Derby. She's even happier when collecting dogs off the streets. She's already got 17. Co-pilot Donna Golden is Pauline's flying pupil. The 1972 Powder Puff Derby with representatives from 4 nations abroad. Ingrid Heinz, South Africa. Laura Blicky, Canada. Mutz Trenze and Brigitte Höck, Germany. Ruth Hodges, Australia. A lot of people have come for the welcoming party.
How did you get time to fly? Was it before you got married?
Yeah, no, before I had any children. I think grandmas are climbing the walls at home, so we better get home.
What number are you? 55.
Car number 55. That is Carol and Elaine from Pocatello, Idaho.
Okay.
We enjoyed it very much. And I have a very
Ruth Johnson, the oldest pilot in the race. She's been taking part in the Powder Puff Derby for 26 years. After 4 days, they are back at the seashore again, but this time it's the Atlantic. Brilliant sunshine, a swimming pool for relaxing, a place to get a tan, a place for chatting. Now Mutz Trenze from Munich has a chance to compare notes. There's hardly any difference from 4 days ago, far away in the east. And instead of San Francisco, there's New York, almost on the doorstep. The girls are more relaxed now. Some are doing embroidery. Who would have expected that from these emancipated American women? A mere 2.5 hours drive away by car. A stone's throw to Manhattan. The route of the Powder Puff Derby on a cushion, but no one thinks of sleep. After all, why was the heavy luggage shipped ahead by scheduled flights? There we are again, the twin look, this time in evening dress. These two are looking very happy, the probable winners, car number 36. Mutz Trenze and Brigitte Höck from Germany. And there's Ruth Johnson. A mother-daughter team, Jane's. Shirley Otis, in spite of a disqualification. The first speaker of the evening, the sponsor of the German team, Mr. Nordman.
For you to remember the Powder Puff Derby number 26.
At the microphone is Kay Brick, the chairman. She thanks the teams from abroad for taking part and wishes them a good flight home. The awards remain in the States. And here's the winning couple from California. Co-pilot Dottie Sanders and blonde pilot Marion Banks. More than 2,000 hours flying experience. But more important is the fact that this is the 16th time that Marion has taken part and the first time that she has won. And, confidentially, she is 4 times a grandmother.